I want to set up the state of the city's coming up.
Yep.
2 weeks from tomorrow, right? And you just touched on a couple things that Huntsville and I think Mayor Battle as the leader have done really well. And just I've only been here 18 months, but I've interviewed a lot of people, and the predominant theme is doing the homework, right? And the soccer. Well, you're like, oh, you don't know anything about soccer? Okay, great. Let's go out and look at Nashville. And it's not just the game; it's the tailgating, it's all this other stuff. The music audit, right, where you hired sound diplomacy out of London to come in and conduct this thing, right? And it wasn't just build an amphitheater. You touched on those other things. Hey, there's policy that allows what do you call it? The busker?
The buskers. They're the people who play on the side of the road.
I just interviewed a guy named Tim Connect. He's a busker.
Okay.
A few episodes ago. But there's always that, let's do our homework. Let's go find out. Let's do a study. Downtown Huntsville, they went out and looked at other downtowns, right? In the country. How do they do it in Chattanooga? I think it was one that they were really impressed with. So the state of the city is coming up. And so I commend you, right? I've only had some involvement with mayors in my life, and I don't think they did a very good job. And so you come here, and it's like, wow, Huntsville's different, and it always starts with the top, right? In any company, any organization, it starts at the top. So, and it's impressive. So here's some stats from last year. Now, I'm gonna release this episode on the same day of the state of the city in 2 weeks. It's just the way it works out. So anything you say now, it won't get released if you care. But I'm going to do kind of a tail of the tape here. So last year, that was your 14th state of the city. So now it's your 15th, right? And there was 460 people moving in per month, 4,500 per year, 3.7 million visitors per year. You took out your calculator and figured that's 10,000 a day. Coming to Huntsville or North Alabama, right? And contributing up $1.7 billion.
You remember it better than I do.
Into the economy. Is this all ringing a bell? And we have some notes for in a couple weeks on these. I'm assuming there's going to be an uptick in these numbers.
Well, I'm not sure. They won't let me see the script yet.
They won't see it. Okay. The average income.
I tell you, that is honest. We sit down and we talk about what we want to do, what we want to accomplish out of the state of the city, what we're talking about, and we have some great topics that we're addressing this time. And I say this is what I want to include. I want to include this, and then they write it. And my communication director is an old TV anchor person, and she's just ripping and reading. And I'm holding out. I won't give her some information she wants until she gives me my speech, so I can get started on working on it. But what it's meant to do, and what we're looking for is, number one, the reason for growth. A lot of people out there are saying, hey, we've grown too much. We need to stop. We've grown so much that we've got to, there's too much traffic. There's too many people in my grocery store. I had a guy at we were at this soccer game 2 weeks ago. And so coming out of the soccer match, and it was one of our older citizens, and he had his beer. He was sitting there, and he looked over at me, and all of a sudden he recognized me. You always tell when they recognize you. And he said, it's getting too busy. The roads are too busy, and there's too much growth. and I stopped and I said, if we didn't have that growth, we wouldn't have this stadium here, and we wouldn't have this soccer team here. If we didn't have this growth, we wouldn't have Cheesecake Factory. We wouldn't have the Orion Amphitheater. If we weren't a growing community, we'd be a dying community. If you don't grow, you die, and that's just the way it is with the city. And I said, and besides that, have you got grandchildren? Yeah, I've got grandchildren. Have you got nieces and nephews? Yeah. I said, if you don't grow, you don't offer them an opportunity. You don't offer them an opportunity to come and take a job and to get a job.
They're going to move.
Yeah, they're going to say, I'm going to the big city. I'm going to the thing. My son did it. He came out of the University of Alabama in finance, and I said, son, there's a lot of banks here. You want to come back to Huntsville? He said, no, I'm going to the big city. So he goes off to some of what he called the big cities, and he enjoyed it and everything. But we started growing, and as we grew, one of the local banks who was being started by one of his friend's fathers, they called him and said, listen, we've been watching you. You've been doing a good job with the bank you're with. We'd like for you to come run our Jones Valley branch. And he called me and he said, Dad, y'all grown a little bit, and because of your growth and everything else, they've called and given me a job offer, and I think I'm coming home. Well, I tell you what, as a parent, grandparent, or whatever, if you hear those words, I think I'm coming home, all of a sudden you know that you've won the lottery, that you've hit the big ball out of the park. And that was one of the things that kind of told us as we started having young people saying, hey, you're kind of the place of preference. We're looking to come there because we can go to the Ryan Amphitheater. We can go downtown. We can go to Top Golf. We can go to Dave and Buster's. We can go down to the sand volleyball, and we can run around an old golf course and run the running track and running trails down there. Or we can have a pickup soccer game, which they do, just about every night of the week. And they're all looking for something to do and a reason to be here, and said, or we can go listen to music at the Ryan, at the Mars Music Hall, or downtown, just wandering around the square. And when you do that, you put in a quality of life that attracts people.